Girivardhari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, entitled Calculation of Time from the Atom, texts 10 through to 13. I'll recite the Sanskrit and then translations for I think 3 of the verses, and then the 13th one we can recite together. Text 10. Yamaschatvaraschatvaro martyanam ahani ubhe pakshaha panchadasani shuklaha krishnascha manada. Translation: It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month. Text 11. Tayo samuchayo mashaha pitranam tad aharnisham dvo tavratu sad ayanam dakshinam chotaram divi. Translation: The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pitta planets. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. Text 12. Ayane chahani prahur vatsaro dvadasha smritaha samvatsara shatam nirnam paramayo nirupitam. Translation: 2 solar movements make 1 day and night of the demigods, and that combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years. Text 13. So you can recite each line after me. Grahakshatara chakrastaha Grahakshatara chakrastaha Paramanavid adina jagat Paramanavadina jagat Samvatsara vasanena Samvatsara vasanena Pariyeti animisho vibhu Pariyeti animisho vibhu. Nisho Vibhu. Samvatsaravasanena Paretyanisho Vibhu. Ladies, machis. Anyone else? Okay, word for word. Graha, influential planets like the moon. Raksha, luminaries like Ashwini. Tara, stars. Chakrastaha, in the orbit. Parama anu adina, along with the atoms. Jagat, the entire universe. Samvatsara, avasanena, samvatsara avasanena, by the end of 1 year. Parayeti, completes its orbit. Animeshaha, the eternal time. Vibhu, the Almighty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Influential stars, planets, luminaries and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated that the sun is the eye of the Supreme and it rotates in its particular orbit of time. Similarly, beginning from the sun down to the atom, all bodies are under the influence of the Kala Chakra, or the orbit of eternal time, and each of them has a scheduled orbital time of 1 samvatsara. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming to this morning's class. I've been watching everyone's class for the past few weeks, just seeing what the speakers have been saying, and also the audience's questions and curiosity. I'm begging for the mercy of all of you Vaishnavas, of all the Vaishnavas here. Like others, have been reluctant to do this service of sharing from the Bhāgavatam. But yeah, encouraged by my seniors to, for my own purification, to share something. And Canto 3, Chapter 11, the topic of time, can be seen as a very technical subject. We're probably going to see more and more of that unravel as the weeks go by. And we've already heard of different aspects of time, so different measurements of time have been given. The more minute aspects have been discussed or shared in the last few verses, and then now we're coming to the larger units of time, so dividing a day into certain parts, and then what comprises of a fortnight, etc., etc. And then the 13th verse, which has the purport, it all culminates in actually Krishna is the controller of this concept of time. So, what to say about the topic of time? A lot of preaching that we try to do is at the A lot of preaching that I've done previously has been at universities, and usually one of the first topics we start off with is, what would you do if you had 24 hours to live? And sometimes I speak to the society's leaders and they say, oh, Prabhu, we did that last year. Can we do something new? But the fascinating thing is that every time that talk is done, it brings a new revelation to even those that have already been in that particular presentation. And it's because of the captivity of the types of the question that we're posing. What would you do if you had 24 hours to live? And one particular aspect of that talk is what we relate to students is we say, what if I gave you £86,400? What would you do with it? And students more than anyone loves to talk about money. Not that they have it, but it's like a nice aspiration. And then you get ideas that, okay, let's churn that. What would I do with that money, right? And you get different ideas in the room. So this is like an icebreaker or kind of a think out loud. And there's different options like, would you invest it? Would you spend it? What would you do with that amount of money? And we gather all these different ideas, and then we drop, kind of like a bomb, just saying, how many seconds are there in 24 hours? 86,400 seconds. And in this proposition, when we're talking about the monetary aspect of money, we say that, what if you had £86,400, and at the end of the day, that money gets taken away and you get another £86,400, what would you do? And again, the mind's just relishing, oh, what would I do? I get it again, but it gets taken away, so I better utilize it. But then when we pose the concept that money, not necessarily it's money, but that actually you're getting a deposit of time every day, of that many seconds, what would you do? That really brings gravity into the room, right? It really brings gravity. Because, well, we're speaking to a university audience and we're just trying to understand the concept, but do we have £86,400? Or seconds a day? Do we actually have that? Do we know? Who knows, right? So every moment that's going by, we're not even sure if we have that next moment. And that's why the utility of time is so important. And does anyone know the quote that Prabhupada often refers to when he's talking about time, and he's putting a monetary value on it? Anyone know? Chanakya Pandit? Exactly, one moment can't be bought back by millions of dollars. And in that respect, Prabhupada writes in one purport, I think it's from the previous chapter, chapter 10, text 11 of the third canto, like Maharaj shared, Chanakya Pandit says that even a slight fraction of time cannot be purchased with millions of dollars, And therefore, even a moment of time lost without profit must be calculated as the greatest loss in life. Now, I don't know if many of you know about accountancy, but when we hear the word profit and loss, it rings a bell like, oh, what's going on? What's the balance, right? And Prabhupada here is talking about that exact same concept of profit and loss. But is he referring to money? He's referring to time. Money comes and goes, right? You lose some money, you'll get some money later. You get some money, you might lose some money. Time? Similar? No, you don't get it back, right? It's forever going. And in the Krishna consciousness movement, any time that goes by without understanding Krishna, without being in that journey, is the greatest loss. So Prabhupada also writes this in the 4th Canto, 27th chapter, verse 3 in the purport. So the story of Paranjana is being told by Narad Muni, and he writes in the purport, the greatest loss of life in passing time is passing time without understanding Krishna. So we want to utilize our time. We want to utilize our time wisely. And there was a particular quote that came to mind. How many of us struggle with procrastination? Yeah? Okay, wow. It's like you can do a Mexican wave, like everyone's hands go up. Yeah, it's such a big topic, right? In kind of the corporate field, management, it's that procrastination. It's such a difficult thing. If you're a student, again, procrastination. How do I overcome it? And one thing that stuck with me for such a long time, I did the sabbatical program, I think in 2014. In the winter, I went to Mumbai. I started the India part of that journey. And it was at Juhu Temple in the reception, one senior devotee, he just started speaking to the group. So there was a group of us boys committing for some months. And he shared something really interesting that I just never thought would come about. It seemed kind of like destined. Okay, he's here and he's sharing some wisdom. And what he shared was a quote that, from my research, comes from the Mahabharata. I think that devotee particularly told me it came from the Mahabharata. And from my research, it's from the Shanti Parva. And it's this quote. And the quote goes, "Tomorrow's work should do it today, and afternoon's work in the forenoon. Death does not wait for whether work has been done or not done." And this quote that he shared was really amazing, and essentially, in a different way in English, is that whatever you're considering to do tomorrow, why don't you do it today? And whatever you're considering to do today, why don't you do it now? Right? It brings that sense of urgency. And I thought it's really nice that we can use that in Krishna consciousness, in our Krishna consciousness. Has anyone chanted rounds really late before? Late now? Oh, some of you are just, on job. It's good. Exactly. And what we can even meditate on is that when we're going through that struggle, that the time seems to have run out, that we're at the end of the day, etc., we can think, maybe I'll leave one more, like there's one more round, I'll leave it for tomorrow. But wait, if we're going to leave it for tomorrow, why don't we just do it today? If we're going to leave it for today, why don't you just do it now, right? So in this way, if we can embed these kind of sutras in our mind, then we can just become that much more efficient, even in Krishna consciousness. Efficiency, it sounds a little bit more kind of, mundane or management, and we're trying to be optimal, etc. But as devotees, we should strive for that too. Who's to say that, I just do, you know how it is, Prabhu, it's just all going on. No, we can actually do something about it. We can help ourselves. Like the saying goes, God helps those that help themselves. So in this way, we should mold our life in such a way that we can have the priorities first, right? And again, we've spoken maybe about rounds as an example, but what else can we do with that time? And there's a certain calculation of time, or description of a certain point of time that's given in the previous verses, and that unit of time is known as a lava. And when I heard that word, there was only one verse that could come to mind. And there was one devotee who came to mind with the verse. I don't know if that happens with you sometimes, but there's a certain personality who's recited a verse, and then when you remember that verse, then you remember the person who recited it, etc. And the verse goes, it's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22:54. Sadhu Sangha Sarva Sastikoi Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Translation: the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. And the purport's quite sweet that Prabhupada has just written. It's been written, according to astronomical calculations, a lava is 1/11th of a second. And that's it. That's all he says. But throughout the Bhāgavatam and the Shastras, he still quotes this verse and he expands on it further and further. And the devotee that comes to mind is Jankinath Prabhu. So when he was, I think after sabbatical, when he took some time committing himself to the manna, he just approached me out, there would just be a closed door and suddenly it just swings open and Jankinath Prabhu was there. And he'd share this verse with me, and he says, I'm trying to learn this verse. Can you help me? I'm like, Prabhu, I don't know the verse, so how can I help you? And he said, no, every time I see you, I'm just going to recite it, and you have to recite it back to me. I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. But the extent at which Jankinath did things, like some people say things like, Prabhu, we'll catch up, and you'll never see that person again, right? Jankinath Prabhu will say, we'll catch up, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, no, what time are we catching up? I was like, no, we'll see you soon. No, when are you coming, right? And it'd be so precise and on point. And this verse, constantly, he'd just be reciting it, and I was thinking, Prabhu, you know it off by heart now. But again, there was just that relish and enjoyment of reciting this particular verse. And the realization I had was that actually he lived by this verse as well, about using every single moment, every single time to get that association of the devotees. He was a very special character as well because he'd just call me randomly. It could be any time of the day, it could be any random day. I just couldn't predict it. And he'd say, Prabhu, what are you reading? I'm thinking, I think I read last week, so let me tell him what I read last week. And I'd tell him the book, and it'd be a random book. And he'd say, okay, can you send me a copy? I'm like, but Prabhu, you got your own life, you're probably reading something too, no? He said, no, I want to know. I was like, okay, sure. And again, as devotees, we say, Prabhu, that was really cool, can you share that with me? And again, it would just sit on the shelf, or we'll never get to it, right? Or Sangha. Prabhu, what Sangha are you going to? I go to this person's Sangha. It's really nice. What did you learn from it? And then I'm thinking, man, I really hope no one asked me that, but okay, this is what I kind of gathered. And he says, I want to come sometime. Like, okay, yeah, feel free. And he turns up. He actually makes the effort to turn up. So like this, that hunger, this desperation is amazing. And this was before he unfortunately had cancer, and his journey was quite long actually. The mercy of Krishna that we got to spend more time with him. But yeah, it's just that before calamity, he had such an attitude and such a hunger. And after that moment, again, just constant hunger and thirst of reading, chanting, hearing, associating with the Vaishnavas. So like this, also Mother Kalangana, a very good example, very peaceful personality and having such strong conviction. And the strong conviction, one quote that I'd heard was that she was very convinced that she hadn't wasted a moment, that she spent her time serving Krishna. And what she spent that time serving Krishna with, making Mangalarti sweets, etc. But there's so much more as well. There's so many things that are, you could say, underrated. Even to the point, one devotee was sharing with me, like, just a dedication of putting on tilak every day. Like for me, sometimes it's even a struggle. Like I barely remembered, oh wait, I'm actually giving class. Maybe I should put on some tilak. Maybe I should make a bit more effort. But again, these devotees, their life is Krishna. Every moment is used for Krishna. And there's one pastime about association, or the value of association, and it's the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj's brother. So Ambarish Maharaj had a brother, and he was very sinful, unfortunately. And Ambarish Maharaj wanted to preach to him, wanted to get to his deeper side of saying, hey, just stop your activity, like these sinful activities, and surrender. And what he decided to do was to get Narad Muni involved. When you get Narad Muni involved, there's some serious business that's going to happen, right? And he said, "Oh, Narad Muni, please help me out. Like, my brother's really sinful. Can you talk to him?" And Narad Muni, he's constantly preaching, he's constantly traveling. And he agreed, okay, let's see what we can do with him. And he tried to plead with him, like, oh, just surrender, just think about Krishna, etc. But he wouldn't have any of it. Ambarish Maharaj's brother, very reluctant. So he left him with one note, and he said, when you're in front of Yamaraj, ask him just one question. What is the result of having sadhu sangha for a moment's association with a pure devotee? So the sinful king just carried on with his ways, and eventually the time came. And he had his appointment with Yamaraj. Chitragupta's there, long list. I always imagine, like, I don't know if anyone's been to Costco, but those receipts are really long. And then Chitragupta's like looking, oh my God, you've done a lot of activities, But for this king, in particular, there was a lot of sinful activities. He's probably trying to look for the good, but it's like, oh, there's nothing there. You've just been sinful throughout your whole life. And Yamaraj is feeling a bit compassionate. Okay, just before you need to go, is there something I can do for you? What's your last kind of request? And then he remembered what he was told by Narad Muni. So he asked him that, what is the result of a person who has a moment's association with a pure devotee? And Yamaraj said, oh, that's a good question. I'm not too sure, Let's go to Brahma and ask him. Let's see what he has to say. So they went to Brahma, and they asked Brahma the same question: what is the result of having a moment's association with a pure devotee? And Brahma said, quite busy with creation. I don't see many sadhus, like, I don't deal with them, right? Very good question, very nice question. Let's all go up to Shiva. Let's see what Shiva has to say. So Shiva's there in his realm, and they pose the question to Shiva: what is the result of a moment's association with a pure devotee? Shiva says, hey, I'm with the ghastly beings. Sadhus, where are the sadhus? I'm with the ghastly beings. Such a nice question. Who should we ask next? Vishnu. So they all go to Vishnu. They approach Vishnu, Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, and they ask him what is the result of associating with a pure devotee just for a moment. And Lord Narayan smiled, and he said, this is the result of one who associates with a sadhu for a moment, that one is delivered to Vaikuntha by all means. And since you've already brought him here for me, he can stay here. And you guys can go back to what you're doing, like that. So this pastime is, this story is amazing, that yes, it's by a moment's association, so much can happen, so much transformation. And I can't help myself that when I'm in front of a mic, I like to ask things as well. So I'd like to ask you, I feel I'm always having moments. We're always having moments. Are people having moments? Moments, right? Moments of association. But what's happening now? I'm not sure if I'm pure. What's going on? What's the phenomena? Anyone wants to share some thoughts? I don't know if we have a mic going around, or I can repeat. Just to be clear, so my proposition is, if I associate with devotees, it means I'll automatically go back to Godhead, like that. What do you think? Why is it not happening?
But we're not thinking about the material world or our material issues right now. We're thinking about transcendental subject matter.
Okay.
A quote from Radhanath Swami. He said, what is the most important thing we should be doing? And he says, well, put that question to yourself. What is it am I doing now? And he says, yes, the most important thing is what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important thing. And there's another little quote that somebody gave me. It says, Forget the past, for it is gone from your domain. Forget the future, for it is beyond your reach. Control control the present. Live supremely well now. This is the way of the wise.
Very nice. Yeah, I don't think we get like I don't know, back in the day they used to say blue Peter badges for some achievement, but you don't get a blue Peter badge like, I associate with amazing devotees, etc. But like the points mentioned, that it's a constant journey, right? It's what we're doing at every single moment. With that, yeah.
Thank you. In Amritavani, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's quotes, there's one nice one where he says there has to be three things for something to constitute association. He says, number one, only if you hear from a Vaishnava. He says, number two, if you're honest with a Vaishnava. And he says, number three, if you apply what they say. Then he says, this actually constitutes real Vaishnava Sangha.
Wow, thank you for sharing, Maharaj. So hearing, honesty and application. Wow, amazing. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yes, bro?
Yeah, just some thoughts is that Krishna is where his devotees are, and for me it's like a protection that keeps one safe from disturbing influences with good association, and that's it. Kind of, like a body armor in life is the devotee association.
Yeah, exactly, and you could say like the armor consistently. That it's the daily practice. It's every day we should be seeking out the association of devotees. And like Maharaj said, like the medians can be of just hearing. Just by hearing every day, we get that association by applying the instructions and by being honest, right? So honesty with ourselves, that where we are in our Krishna conscious journey, and having that hunger to get to further and further standards of practice. And like the points mentioned previously, is what type of association are we having, right? Is it the like the physical proximity? I was next to the devotee and I was feeling ecstasy, etc. But whatever they were saying was like, okay, that's a nice point, I've heard that before, etc. But I know you chant your rounds in the morning or whatever it is. It's like what we even consider the association, it varies. Also the receptivity as well. So how receptive are we? The pure devotee, when they chastise, when they say something contrary to what our beliefs are or our comfort zone, right? Oftentimes devotees kind of relish that, I just got chastised, it was really rough and all the rest of it. But what are we taking away from it? What are we learning? What are we imbibing from those moments that we get from a devotee? And also the faith, right? It's what's faith defined as? Yeah, Shraddha, where we put our heart, and again, if we don't understand the words of the pure devotee, the instructions, etc., we need to put our heart with them, right? In all due course of time, things will be revealed. But what we need to do is put our heart. I may not understand, but I know I'm convinced by their conviction. And like that. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gauranathai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. Okay. Okay, I think I'll share one more thing. Let's see if it's that one more thing. Okay, it looks like it's the one more thing. So another quote that stayed with me as well was from Chandramauli Maharaj speaking about Srila Prabhupada. And it was related to the 4 bodily activities. So what are they? Sleeping, eating, mating, and defending. Which one would you say is most dangerous? Oh, have you heard this one before? Oh, I got the right answer. Yes, he said sleeping. So this is Chandramauli Swami speaking. Srila Prabhupada said that out of the 4 bodily activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, oversleeping was the most dangerous. He said that this leads to the other ones, and it is also wasting time that should be used in Krishna's service. Furthermore, it enhances the attraction for overeating and mating, so he qualified it like that. That was a shock. We were all thinking something else. So we can say, we see here that, oh, okay, sleeping is most dangerous. But how many times are we in a sleep-like state during the day? When we're in our day-to-day activities, the japa, the Bhāgavatam class, prasadam rarely, like we're a little bit more in tune, but everything else is, sometimes in ear, one ear out the other, or there's a lot more clock watching, right? It's like, okay, time's ticking down. But like this, we need to make best use of our time. And another phenomenon I wanted to share was happiness and distress. So has anyone ever felt like, when you're in distress, it feels like a really long time? Anyone felt that? Like when you're in the moment of distress, it's like, will this ever end? Right? And the same thing in happiness sometimes. Yeah? Oh, God, this is going to be forever. But again, we get a stark reality that actually there'll be a time of distress, but there'll be something else around the corner. And when there is a time of happiness, again, there'll be some time around the corner. So like this, we shouldn't be so captivated by happiness and distress. This is the message of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, that don't get enamored by the happiness and distress, don't get attached to it, because it's always fleeting. This is the nature of the material world, happiness and distress. So the best we can do is to concentrate our efforts on serving Krishna. And one point I wanted to share from His Grace Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu that's again stuck with me for a very long time is when I was going through a moment of difficulty, he said that regret can't serve you, but change can. And that meant a lot to me because there can be many regrets that we have, right? Actions, consciousness, so on like that. And regret is there. We should have some regret. But at the same time, we shouldn't be so enamored by the regret that there's no change, right? And if we can change and transform ourselves, utilize the time that we have now, then the results are like amazing. Right? And I was thinking that sometimes when it's a speaker says, oh, the results of Krishna consciousness are amazing, and then sometimes you think, but I'm not seeing many results that are like ecstatic right now. But at the same time, I'm just giving an example of today. What I just witnessed was the dancing, the kirtan, when it's a Govinda Prabhu kirtan, it's rocking like that. New dance moves have been created. I haven't seen the V-shaped dance before, and I'm just like, oh, am I in India or something? Like, there's like funky moves coming out. But again, there's ecstasy at every moment. There's things that we can relish every day. And we can actually also try and hold on to them, that state of mind. I'll finish on this one, this point, and then we can open up for additional thoughts. Is Chanakya Pandit mentions that if one retains the state of mind during 3 situations, who cannot achieve liberation? So these 3 particular instances that if you retain the state of mind when you're at these 3 points, then who cannot attain liberation? Does anyone have a go, a guessing? Is these death? Okay, can you expand on that a bit more? Oh, okay. No, so that is a very good guess. So I'll just expand on that. So it's not necessarily your own death, but of a death of a person, right? So yes, that's good. So he says when you're at a crematorium, right? Okay, there's two more instances. Birth? Not quite. Oh, I wonder what if I can retain that state of mind. I don't know what I was doing. Okay.
How about when you're insulted?
Okay. Interesting. It's a good guess.
Loss of wealth?
Loss of wealth. Okay. I'm not sure if I want to remember these states of mind. That's good. Yeah. Yes.
We want you to give us the answer.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm new to Bhāgavatam class, by the way. Like, whether I need to provide something or you do. So please forgive me. But we'll have a final guess. Disease. Yes, disease. Very nice. Old age, good. Okay, so I'll reveal them. Yeah, apologies. I'm a bit more of a kind of games master, quiz master, rather than speaking Bhāgavatam, but it's okay. So yes, the three instances are when one is at a crematorium, when one is in sickness, and when one is in a spiritual discourse, or when one is hearing spiritual science. And it's interesting when you think about these three events that when you go to a crematorium, you think about your own life very deeply, don't you? That you see a person's body perhaps, etc. You see the gravity of the situation. You see everyone around you, what they're feeling like, etc. And you really want to make a change, or you have a real impetus that, wow, this is a really deep moment. Then we have in sickness. I'm sure many of you can relate that when in sickness, what are we thinking about? The body. And also, oh, what would I do if I was well? Oh, I definitely chant a lot better. I do this, I do that. Like, there's so many things that we think about that actually, if I had better health, then I would do this, that, and the other, and in a more profound, better way, beneficial way. And then you have a spiritual discourse, right? Practical, Bhagavatam. We hear someone speaking, we're so inspired, we're fired up, we're like, wow, that's amazing. I'm going to take that with me. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life, right? There's that inspiration. But what happens after each of these events? Life goes on, doesn't it? You get better, your health improves, and then the solid, that kind of gravity that you had when you were in sickness, the aspiration, the seriousness, it kind of fleets away. It's like, oh yeah, I was sick before, but yeah, now I'm better, and then, we do what we're going to do. In a crematorium, we're grave for a day, time goes by, and then we just carry on with our lives. And in spiritual discourse, that we hear something, we're inspired, but again, time just takes its toll. We get busy, right? The modes take over, etc. But yes, what we can really take away is that we should have a sense of gravity every day, that when we've heard something spiritual, we really hone in on that. We really reflect on how it made us feel. And a good way to do that is, of course, journaling, like introspection. And then we're able to see how have we developed over time, how have we become more and more serious in our spiritual journey. So I'll stop there if there's any questions or comments. Not that I have any answers, but I think everyone else has answers. So we can try. Yeah, sure. Anywhere?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. Just wanted to ask that whenever lectures are given, there are different things that different speakers emphasize on: association of devotees, chanting, prasadam, reading, listening, and often these things are described as the most important thing that we should focus on. And given the number of things and the limited amount of time that we have, and the fact that you have to sleep at the end of the day, even if it is for 6-7 hours, and you want to do everything today. How do you prioritize, and how do you hold on towards the different things that different speakers talk about?
Go on. That is a good answer, actually. It's ecstatic. Okay, I'll just give one angle, but I'm sure there's others that can give better ones. one thing that sticks with me is what's written, I think it's in the preface of Nectar of Instruction, if I'm not wrong, but the advancement of our Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower, the attitude. And I feel the attitude that we can imbibe, knowing that, there's only a limited amount of time in the day, etc., is the attitude of just doing the right thing at the right time, if we can. So, again, it's hard to define a right time, but just to say that, for example, the first thing that we can do is check in with our relationship with Krishna by chanting. By the first thing that we do, we give priority to our chanting. And in that way, we don't like to make it like a checklist of, okay, I've done it, etc. But it's that, no, we utilize that time for Krishna in that particular way. And then we may know, I guess the temple program is that, okay, there is time that I'm going to hear some Krishna Katha. Great, it's already organized for me, actually, in one sense. So the priority will be there at its appropriate time. So like this, I think if we just mold our lives in a way, again, somewhat efficiency, but just doing the right things at the right time. Like, say, for example, again, in Bhāgavatam class, sometimes, I like to say previously, I'd be typing away on my phone of different things that, I need to do this in the afternoon and all the rest of it. And then maybe at the end of the day, I'll reflect, I didn't really hear Bhāgavatam class. And I was like, wait, but I was in Bhāgavatam class, but I wasn't listening in the class. So therefore, it defeats the purpose. So like that, I think if there's different times that we've scheduled for the different activities, everything's just in motion necessarily. When people say, there's different quotes of this is the most important, etc., like that, they're all important. But if there's further reflections, please share. Marge? Or?
In one purport, Srila Prabhupada says that of all the instructions the spiritual master gives, the instruction to chant 16 rounds is the most prioritized.
That was very nice.
In the world, they talk about the rule of 100 hours, that if you do something in a year for 100 hours, which means 18 minutes a day, you're in the top 5% of people in the world in that activity. So anyway, whether that's true or not. But the point is consistency. So it's sometimes I think we underestimate the power of consistency. Just doing something even a little bit, once a week, but do it every week. Or once a day for 10 minutes, but do it every day for 10 minutes. I think we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in 5 because we just want to do everything quick. So it's just don't underestimate the power of doing something consistently. You can actually get a lot done.
Thank you for that, Maharaj. That reminds me of that, I guess an analogy or question posed to students in universities is, how do you make a hole in a stone? How do you penetrate through a stone? And I asked this at Imperial University, and then they're like, dude, we've got equipment that can drill through a stone easily. You're asking the wrong people. I'm like, no, we're talking about naturally. And then they're like, I don't actually have an answer. So I was like, okay, thank you. But the answer we share is that actually just one drop consistently makes a dent in that stone. Right? It gets through. So yes, like Maharaj was saying, the everyday principle is so important for our Krishna consciousness, and as Adi Guru Prabhu was saying, is that there can be certain things that by hook or by crook, this is going to happen. Those 16 rounds won't chant themselves. I'm going to chant those 16 rounds. And other things that will follow, that will happen. And again, I guess some practical advice was given once to Nanda Kumar Prabhu, I think it was Nanda Kumar Prabhu, but just about how to, get through the day chanting my rounds. And I think Prabhupada gave some kind of idea that, you could chant 4 in the morning, kind of break those rounds into certain time periods, if that helps. And then he finished by saying, and then you could do whatever you want, right? You got your rounds done, Haribol. Now we can see to the rest of the things. But yes. Any last thoughts? Yeah. Oh yeah, anyone. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, just one more question is that you mentioned about the association, and Maharaj mentioned also about the three principles, and just wondering what would count as association? Like, is it if I read someone's book, like Sri Papa's book, is that the same as association?
Yeah, it's a great association. So, from my understanding, there's the Vapu, which is the physical aspect of a personality, but then there's the Vani, or the instruction. And yes, Srila Prabhupada is there in his books. He says that himself, right? I think. And the power of Prabhupada's books it's amazing, right? I think once I heard this concept that someone was asking about the super soul and how to contact the super soul, etc. Right? You know, when you hear seminars with that tagline, it's like, oh, I want to get in contact. How do I talk to the super soul? And the person sharing was that actually, even when we read the Bhāgavatam, essentially it's what the super soul is telling you anyway, right? It's Krishna's words. It's Prabhupada speaking to us. So like that, Prabhupada's, we're definitely getting association through his books. And other personalities as well, like, Vedic literatures that were written in the pursuance of the Vedic version by devotees. Like, we get their mood, we get their understanding, we understand their mind a bit better, right? I don't want to pick him out because he's here, but Keshav Maharaj's books, broken down in a very systematic style, right? Very methodical. So like this, we can understand a bit more about a person by their writings as well, their mood, what their emphasis is, etc. Like that. Yeah. One more question over here. Is there a mic?
Thank you for elaborating on that verse of the Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha. I just had an afterthought. I was thinking that because the devotees, they are always chanting the holy names, and they wear tilak and Vaishnava attire, so just by seeing them, then one gets a chance to hear the holy name or remember Krishna. So then there's a nice verse in Bhāgavatam that says, Yan namadeya shravananu kirtanad yat shravanad yat smaranad api kvachit, that just by hearing the holy name of Krishna, just by remembering Krishna, then one immediately becomes eligible to perform the Vedic sacrifices and devotional service. So I thought that was a nice way to think of that verse also.
Oh, thank you. Haribol. Okay, we'll call it there. Thank you. Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Dina Dayardra Natha.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu